Throughout my life, people have told me I was beautiful, but I never tried to use it to my advantage. When I was younger, I wanted to be a model, but that dream ended when Richard came into my life. He said we didn't need the money, so he didn't want me to pursue it. His choice became my choice. Now, at 49, I live in the house of the man who changed my life, sharing it with his son from his first marriage, Ethan, who is 30. Ethan recently graduated from university with a degree in photography and visual arts. He's back home now, and his space is on the upper level of our duplex. It's his artistic sanctuary where he creates portraits of women and men. Really, anyone. Young women often come and go, posing for his artwork. At first, I thought it was just his passion for art. But things changed the day I accidentally left his door slightly open. How could I have known that a simple portrait sketch would lead to all of this? I'll tell you how that one night with Ethan became much more than just helping him. I know some might judge me, but I can't keep it a secret any longer. That morning, Richard had left the house early. I went upstairs and Ethan's door was a little bit open. I didn't mean to go in, but as I walked by, I caught a glimpse of the canvas inside. What I saw stopped me in my tracks. It was a painting of me, but what worried me even more was the large photograph pinned to the wall next to it. It was a photo I had shared on social media years ago. Every line on my face, the depth of my gaze, and the emotions I felt at that moment were captured in his artwork. I didn't even realize Ethan had been watching me so closely. When I realized he had downloaded my photograph and printed it to create this portrait, it should have scared me, right? But it didn't. I stood frozen in the doorway for a few moments. My heart was racing, and a wave of excitement, along with an indescribable feeling, washed over me. The way Ethan had painted me was different, more powerful, more captivating. He had portrayed me as someone greater than I saw myself. My hands trembled as I touched the edge of the door frame. I couldn't stay there any longer. Silently, I turned and went back downstairs. My feet led me to the kitchen, but my heart kept pounding. The image of that painting stayed in my mind. I thought it would just be another piece of art, but I was wrong. I never imagined that moment would become reality. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories like this. I'm sure that once you hear the whole story, you'll want to leave a comment. Since Ethan came back home, there's been this undeniable electricity between us, something I can't explain. At first, everything seemed normal, even comfortable, but I noticed Ethan gradually withdrawing over time. He started spending more and more time upstairs, locked in his room, working for hours. His door was usually locked, but the other day, it was accidentally left ajar for a little while. That moment is burned into my memory. He had painted me. He had taken one of my photos from social media and recreated it on his canvas. Every brushstroke seemed to reveal a part of who I am. He wasn't just painting my face, he was illuminating my soul. Seeing that painting ignited something within me, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything to Ethan about it. The next day, loud noises from upstairs caught my attention. A girl was shouting, her voice sharp and angry. Before I could figure out what was happening, Ethan's bedroom door flew open and the girl stormed out, her face red with anger, tears streaming down her cheeks. She rushed past me in the hallway. My heart pounded. I thought I should go upstairs, but I hesitated, torn between staying out of it and finding out what had happened. In the end, I couldn't resist. I went to Ethan's door and knocked gently. "Ethan?" I said, my voice uncertain. I heard a sigh from inside. "Come in," he said, his voice tired and vulnerable. I pushed the door open a little and stepped inside. He was standing in the middle of the room, looking at a canvas. The artwork wasn't finished. The colors and details were beautiful, but the whole thing looked incomplete. "What's going on?" I asked, unable to hide the worry in my voice. Ethan lowered his head and slowly turned to face me. His eyes looked helpless. "That portrait," he said, his voice tinged with resignation. "I got a contract for it, a big project. The client wanted a portrait of a poised, powerful, and attractive woman. They offered a lot of money. But it's more than just the money, Sarah. This is about my reputation. This project could really boost my career. But when I was painting that girl, I knew it wasn't going to work. He wouldn't have liked it. I would have disappointed him." His voice trembled. "What now? I have to submit something new by tomorrow. It's crucial." Hearing him, my heart started racing. His eyes were fixed on mine, pleading without saying a word. That's when I thought about the painting I had seen recently and the way Ethan was looking at me now. "Ethan, what do you need me to do?" I asked, my voice shaking. He swallowed hard and took a deep breath. Sarah, I want to paint you. You are the embodiment of strength, elegance, and beauty. I paused for a moment, unsure how to respond. Is that right? I whispered, my voice barely audible. Ethan came closer, his eyes filled with both determination and respect. Sarah, you might not realize it, but it's you. Your beauty, elegance, and strength are all there. I need your help to finish this. I don't have much time, and I need your help. If you agree, we can do this discreetly, together. Part of me was screaming that I should say no immediately, but another part of me was captivated by Ethan's words. The warmth in his eyes, the sincerity in his voice. I couldn't stop thinking about the painting I had seen, his perception of me, and the emotions it stirred within me. Ethan, are you sure? I asked, meeting his gaze. He nodded with unwavering conviction, his voice low but firm. This isn't just a painting, Sarah. This will change everything. There was a pause. My heart was racing. I was wondering if this was the right thing to do when my eyes landed on the garment Ethan was holding. It was a black silk dress that clung to the body, exposing the shoulders and falling gracefully to show just the right amount of leg. This is a little much, I said, giving a nervous little laugh. Ethan took another step closer, his eyes warm and steady. It will look perfect on you. I just want to see you at your best. Trust me, Sarah. I took a deep breath. My hesitation slowly faded away because of Ethan's sincere words. I nodded slightly. Okay, let's do it. A genuine, welcoming smile spread across Ethan's face, and all my worries disappeared. That's when we started getting ready for the evening. But I knew deep down that this was going to be more than just art. This night felt like it was going to change everything for both of us. When Richard came home, I tried to act like everything was normal. I was quiet at dinner, and Ethan acted like nothing was wrong. But whenever our eyes met, even for a second, the unspoken tension between us hung heavy in the air. After I was sure Richard was asleep, I took a deep breath. My heart was pounding as I quietly went upstairs to Ethan's room. I carefully opened the door. The room was softly lit by a warm, pleasant glow. Candles were lit in every corner, filling the space with a comforting warmth. Soft music played in the background, making the atmosphere even more inviting. Ethan was standing in the corner, holding a bottle of wine. He raised his glass in my direction. "Welcome," he said, his voice calm but with a definite warmth. "It's beautiful," I said, looking around the room. "This evening is important," he said with a small smile. "Everything has to be perfect. For you." I swallowed hard, but a little smile touched my lips. Right then, instead of questioning what I was doing, I decided to just go with it. Ethan pointed to a corner of the room. "I've set up a place for you to get ready. Your dress is over there." I nodded and went to the corner. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that Ethan had turned away from me. That small gesture eased some of my nervousness. I put on the dress and looked at myself in the mirror. The black silk fit my figure perfectly. My shoulders were bare and the neckline showed off my collarbone elegantly. "Ethan," I said, "I'm ready." But my voice was just a whisper. He turned around and his eyes locked on mine. They were filled with admiration, not the kind an artist has for a subject, but the kind a man has for a woman. "Excellent," he said slowly, raising his glass again. "Are you comfortable sitting in that chair?" I went over to the chair he had indicated. It was elegant and looked antique, with a charm that added to the atmosphere. As I sat down, a mix of excitement and nervousness rushed through me. Ethan poured a glass of wine and handed it to me. "You should relax tonight. The wine will help." I took a sip, our eyes meeting again. "I should be careful not to drink too much, or I'll get too relaxed," I said with a soft smile. Ethan chuckled as he pulled his chair closer to the easel. "You deserve this. Tonight is all about you. Your presence will complete this picture." For a while, the room was quiet. The air was thick with anticipation as Ethan's eyes moved between me and the canvas, his brush making deliberate strokes. I knew I should look away, but I couldn't. I sipped my wine and watched him. "Isn't it hard to work like this?" I asked, my voice a mix of nervousness and friendliness. "Hard?" he said with a slight chuckle. "No, actually, this moment feels like the most real thing I've ever experienced." He stopped for a moment, put down his brush, and looked straight into my eyes. "Sarah, Do you know it's more than just looks? I've never met someone who is both graceful and strong at the same time. His words left me speechless. Ethan, you're exaggerating, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I felt their weight. He insisted he wasn't exaggerating, his gaze still locked on mine. I'm truly lucky to share this moment with someone like you. Painting you isn't just work for me, it's a way of understanding you. At that point, the tension in the room became almost unbearable. He picked up his brush again, but his pace had slowed. His eyes kept shifting from the canvas to me. The evening is just beginning, he said with a subtle smile. When this painting is finished, everything will change forever. I took another sip of my wine and finally understood what he meant. This evening wasn't just about a portrait. This night was going to transform us. Sitting in the chair, I completely lost track of time. Ethan sat in front of the canvas, every brushstroke filled with his passion. Sometimes he would stop and look at me. In his eyes, I saw more than just artistic admiration. It was a man's appreciation. As I sipped the wine, I felt myself relaxing more and more. Ethan would take a break about every 30 minutes. During the first break, we just exchanged a few words. His eyes studied me, but there was a line he didn't cross. By the second break, that line started to blur. I couldn't tell if it was the wine or the tension between us, but as he came closer and gently took my hand, I froze. Sarah, you look exquisite, he said softly and kindly. I stayed still for a moment, letting the feeling of his fingers on mine sink in. It was during the third break that the line between us almost disappeared. Ethan reached out and carefully moved a strand of hair that had fallen over my shoulder. My breath caught in my throat. Sarah, he said, his eyes fixed on mine, this painting might not fully capture your beauty, but I will try my best. That touch and those words drew us closer. With each break, we got closer, but we managed to stay on the edge without completely crossing over. 3 hours had passed by the end of the night. Ethan made one last stroke with his brush and leaned back, putting it down with a deep sigh. It's finished, he said, his eyes shining with excitement. Are you ready? I stood up, finishing the last of my wine. I was a little tipsy, but my mind was still clear. I walked over to him, my heart pounding. When I saw the painting, my breath caught. This, I said, unable to take my eyes off the artwork. This is incredible, Ethan. The figure in the painting was me. Ethan hadn't just captured my physical appearance. He had captured something deeper, the emotions in my eyes, the elegance of my posture, and a strength I didn't even know I possessed. It was all there on the canvas. Ethan turned to me. You are incredible, Sarah. This isn't just a painting of you. It is you. Your beauty, your strength, everything that makes you who you are. At that moment, I couldn't control my emotions. I walked up to him and put my arms around his neck. Thank you, I whispered, my voice trembling. The hug was innocent at first, but when Ethan wrapped his arms around my waist and leaned closer to my face, something shifted within me. It felt like all the barriers between us had vanished. Our breaths mingled, and the flickering candlelight in the room made everything feel surreal. I started to say something to Ethan, but the words faded away. That's when I realized his lips were just a breath away from mine, and it felt like there was no turning back. He leaned in, calling me Sarah, his eyes locked on mine, his voice full of emotion. I have to tell you something. I can't hold it in anymore. He paused for a few seconds, taking a deep breath. I have feelings for you, Sarah, more than just a crush. I've felt this way for a long time. I've tried to hide it, but I can't anymore. His words filled the room, washing over me like a wave of warmth. My heart raced, my thoughts spinning. Ethan, I murmured. In that instant, I had another realization. I was attracted to him too, and I couldn't deny it any longer. Ethan moved closer. We were just a breath apart. His hands gently found my waist. Ever since we first met, I've seen you this way, Sarah. You have to understand that. He didn't finish his sentence. He slowly leaned down, and our lips met softly. My breath caught for a second. The warmth of his lips and the touch of his hands melted away any remaining resistance. When the kiss ended, he looked into my eyes for a brief moment, but that look wasn't a question. It was an answer. At that point, there was no turning back. I reached for the straps of my dress and slowly slipped them off my shoulders. The silk fabric slid down my body, pooling at my feet. The candlelight in the room made my bare skin glow. I saw the admiration in Ethan's eyes deepen. He didn't say anything. Words weren't needed at that moment. His hands gently circled my waist, pulling me towards the large couch. That night, everything changed. The connection between us, the intimacy, was undeniable. I lay down on the couch, my heart racing and my breath coming in short gasps. Ethan looked into my eyes and gave me a soft smile. He took off his clothes and tossed them next to mine. All the barriers between us were completely gone. He leaned over me, his hand gently resting on my waist as his lips pressed a passionate kiss on my neck. A shiver ran through my whole body. It wasn't just from his touch. It was a deep feeling I hadn't felt in a long time, a stirring within me. His lips slowly moved from my neck to my shoulder, igniting a passion I hadn't felt before. My hands instinctively found his back. I could feel the tightness in his muscles and the heat radiating from his body. Ethan's breath warmed my skin, and with every touch, he pulled me closer. "Sarah," he whispered, his voice low and full of emotion, "you're even more beautiful than I ever imagined." And then, everything sped up. I saw the sincerity in his eyes as I looked at him, but his determined actions quickly shifted my focus from feelings to a completely different experience, an unrestrained, overwhelming excitement. His lips met mine again, this time with more intensity and depth. My hands tangled in his hair as the intensity of the moment erased all thoughts from my mind. My other hand gripped the couch cover tightly. I tried to stay quiet, but my body had taken over. My muscles tightened, and with every touch it felt like jolts of electricity were running through me. Ethan's kisses moved down, tracing my neck, his hands exploring my skin, leaving a warmth that spread through my body. I surrendered completely to him, my mind lost in the intensity of the moment. He hovered above me, his eyes filled with a mix of wonder and deep longing. His breathing was fast, and his voice had a slight tremor. "Is this a dream, Sarah?" he whispered. I tried to open my eyes, but my body had taken control. I focused on the ceiling as my hands clenched the blanket tighter. Ethan leaned closer, his face just inches from mine, his lips brushing against my ear as he whispered, "Sarah, you're the reason I feel this way. I never thought of you like this." But his breath was shallow and uneven. "You're more real than anything else." Then he continued. I was shaking so hard I was afraid I would completely lose it. Finally, Ethan let go of his restraint. This wasn't a dream. This was the reality I had unknowingly been waiting for all this time. Let me tell you, our story doesn't end here. Stay tuned. If you've made it this far, I know my story has touched you deeply. There's so much more to tell, and you won't want to miss a single detail. Make sure to hit that follow button, turn on notifications, and leave a comment about this story.